How do I start a video like this? Say hi to the fan. I don't really know how to start a video like this, so I'm just going to jump in and say it. If you've been in the gaming sphere for the past month or so, The Last of Us Part 2 came out. It's a game that people have been excited for 7 years. And if you've been in any sort around the internet when the game is being talked about, it's very divisive. People like to praise the game, or people like to shit on the game. Wherever you stand on the spectrum of The Last of Us Part 2, whether you like it or don't like it, that's not what I'm talking about today. What I am talking about today is it's just how toxic people are toward the game. Not necessarily the game, but the people that made it. Now, unfortunately, in order for me to talk about this in full context, I have to spoil it. I have to just go straight into the game and spoil a lot of stuff about it. So if you have not played The Last of Us Part 2, I highly recommend playing it just to see for yourself, see where you stand at on the spectrum of whether you like it or don't like it. Okay? Be clear. This is your spoiler warning for The Last of Us Part 2. 3. Okay. So before the game came out, essentially a lot of the plot points were leaked. One of the plot points that people seem to really harp on was that Joel, the main character in the first game, dies. And he dies, and I think, if I remember the leak correctly, I think it said that Joel gets beaten to death with a golf club by a transgender woman. So a lot of people read those leaks and were pissed. They were like, "Oh, how could you do this to like whatever? Like, you know, like, how could you do this to my character? Like, oh, blah 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 blah, whatever." So people were pissed. And you know, another thing the leak that said was like, you play a majority of the game as Abby. Abby is the person that killed Joel in the very beginning of the game. So a lot of people weren't happy as that. Like, all the marketing material was, "Oh, you market this as Ellie going after whatever, and you play as Abby, the person who killed Joel." No one wanted to do that. So a lot of people were mad, just solely on that premise alone. But then when people started playing the game and seeing context behind it, it got worse. Like, a lot worse. People were not happy. People were spewing from the mountaintops. I even saw one guy cut up the disc of The Last of Us Part 2 because Joel died. Like, snipped it in half. $60. Gone. Now, I'm not saying his response was toxic, because the more I read into that, it was like his father passed away either during The Last of Us Part 1 or like before the game came out. And he saw Joel as a father figure, or someone who has a fatherly influence. I'm not justifying what he did, but in that regard, I'm like, okay, I get it. It was pure emotion in the moment. I get it. Will I have done the same thing? Probably not. I love The Last of Us Part 1. I think the game is a gaming achievement. But I would not have cut the disc up because one of my favorite gaming protagonists died. But that's just me. I'm not the other person. If you didn't like it or liked it, that's fine. I'm not saying you can't like the game. But I feel like a lot of people went into The Last of Us Part 2 with a bias. Right? So they read the leaks, and already people were like, "I don't want to play it. I don't want to play the game. I think the game's going to suck. I think the game's going to be trash." Before the game even came out, before they were like, "Oh, I do want to give a game the fair shot." But I don't want to get into that, because it's just like, sounds like I'm defending the game and people can't like it. I'm not saying that. I want to say that so strongly. I'm not saying you can't like the game. I'm not saying you can't like something that people are liking. What you can't do is send death threats to the people that made the game. And there's two that really stand out, and I think that's the two. I don't know if other people in the game got death threats. I don't know if other people involved in the game got death threats. But Laura Bailey, who played Abby, and Neil Druckmann, those are the two that got death threats. And I'm not saying, like, if I see you on the street, I'm going to beat you up. No. I remember one, because it sticks with me so much, with Laura Bailey. They said something along the lines of, I don't have it pulled up here, so I can't really verbatim. They said something along the lines of, I want to sneak into your house. I'm going to kill you and your kid. Like, what possessed someone to say that about not only the person who had nothing to do with the writing in the story, but their kid? And then Neil Druckmann, on the other hand, is getting death threats and hate messages because I didn't know he was religious, but he's getting shit on because of his religion. I remember seeing one of them, and it was like a very racial depiction of a Jewish person with the big nose and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, the yarmulke, the yarmulke that they wear. Just like all like oh, it was disgusting, and they sent that to him, and it's like, this is you dirty. I believe they said a Jewish slur, and I don't want to repeat it on here. And he was just getting death threats and stuff. That's not okay. No matter what you think of the game, that's not okay. Any sort of the word. And I'm sorry it's taken me so long to talk about this now, because the game came out on the 19th of June, and here it is, the day I'm recording this, the 13th of July, so a month later. But this has been sitting on me for a while, and it's just a game that people are still talking about, how shitty it is, and it's not okay to send someone death threats because you don't like a game. It's okay if you don't like the game. It's fine. You can give it a 0 out of 10. You can give it a 1 out of 10. Whatever. You can do that. People, it's art. You know, people can look at art and be like, that's a masterpiece. And people can look at art and be like, that's disgusting. I don't like, you know, like, I don't like it. I will never understand that, why people feel the need to send death threats to people because they worked on a game and they worked on art. Now, whether or not the story worked for you, that's fine. I love the game, personally. I'm not coming in this video as, oh, defending all, you don't get it. I'm not saying that. People can have their opinion. People have difference of opinions on this stuff, but don't send death threats. Don't be toxic, because you're just making every other gamer look bad. The media is going to see that. The media saw that and is like, well, that's all gamers. They're disgusting. And that's not true. You know, gaming is something that's supposed to unify people like me and everyone else, not tear us apart. So that's all I got to say. Don't be a dick. But I do want to end it on this. If someone's watching this right now and they sent a death threat to Laura Bailey or Neil Druckmann or anyone just because they didn't like what they did, I want you to do something for me. I want you to, you know, as soon as the video is over, close YouTube. I want you to go to Google. I want you to type in the nearest psychiatric hospital you can find. Find the number. Call them. Set up an appointment and check yourself in. Because if you think it's okay to send someone death threats, you fucking need help.